Thank you for joining us for Sound Reasoning with Christian apologist and minister Perseus of Sound Reasoning Ministries. It's our prayer that today's program will educate, train, and empower you to defend your Christian faith with confidence. Perseus has his bachelor's in history and a master's degree in apologetics. We hope you enjoy this time of equipping so that you can answer questions to defend your Christian faith effectively. Now here's Perseus Poku on Sound Reasoning.
Welcome to Sound Reasoning. I'm your host, Perseus Poku. On today's episode, I wanted to invite all of you that listen to us to our upcoming Apologetics Boot Camp, 2026 Apologetics Boot Camp. It's Saturday, April 11th, 9 to 11:30 in Sacramento, being held at the St. Paul Church of Sacramento. I want to invite all the pastors, want to invite church leaders, Sunday school teachers, elders, lay people, whoever is a follower of Jesus Christ, as well as our third grade through college students. We will have breakouts for each group, third grade through college, and we want you to join us. The Apologetics Boot Camp was created to help our Christian students to articulate and defend their faith while on school campus. You may be a homeschool student. You're welcome as well. There's information that will be provided to you that will help you stand bold for Jesus. So again, this is an invitation to all of you who listen to the Sound Reasoning Ministries radio show. We want you to come on April 11th to the Apologetics Boot Camp. You can find the registration information at srministries.org or at www.abcsac.org. www.abcsac.org. Again, www.abc.sac.org. We look forward to seeing you. Sign up online and we'll have a great time in the Lord, talking about the different topics that deals with sharing and promoting our faith, defending our faith, as well as engaging in some polemics on how to give away your faith. And to get ready for the Apologetics Boot Camp, I wanted to do a series in preparation for the boot camp. And today, we just wanted to answer the question, how do we know that God exists? How do we know that God genuinely exists? And we can start with scriptures such as Psalm 14:1, which says, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They do abominable deeds. There is none who does good. So again, the first inclination of a foolish person is one that denies that God even exists. And that's where we are in today's society. We have people who are smart in their individual disciplines, but when it comes to common sense, they have none. It doesn't matter if an individual has a degree in front of their name. If they deny God, they are foolish. It doesn't matter if an individual has 4 or 5 degrees. If you deny the existence of a creator God, you're foolish. It doesn't matter what last name you have. If you deny God, you are a foolish individual. It doesn't matter if you've discovered the latest talk as it relates to medicine, the latest discoveries. Doesn't matter if you even come up with a cure for cancer. If you deny God, you are a foolish person. So the Bible reminds us again in Psalm 14:1, only fools say in their hearts, there is no God. They are corrupt and their actions are evil. Not one of them does good. And this is what the Bible tells us. It's not me calling you a fool, but God has already condemned you and categorized you as a fool, because without God, none of this would be possible. And we learn in Romans how Paul argues for the existence of God. Paul says when we look at nature and all that is involved in nature, when you see the intricacies of nature, when you study the beauty of nature, that's an invitation for each man, each woman to ask him or herself, how did all this get here? So it's God's way of introducing himself to individuals who have yet to accept Christ. He is introducing himself by the way of his creation, and the creation is a signifier for us to ask the question, how did all this get here? And ultimately, when you investigate and go through the processes and the history of how we all got here, you run into God. So only a fool, after investigating, after looking at nature, after thinking about the precision, thinking about the complexities of life itself, would only come to the conclusion that we just got here through random chance. No, we're here because of an intelligent designer. So for one of our classes, we'll be dealing with how did we get here, and what's the evidence for the existence of God. So we learn through our five senses. A person can learn by seeing, smelling, touching, and tasting. So we learn through these processes. Our five senses allow us to learn about the world around us. It gives us confidence that things are real. That's how we learn. We have these five senses that helps us to learn information about the world around us. So as humans, we like things that can be trusted, right? We use terms such as veracity, which means truth. We like to test. We like to hypothesize. We like to know things, and there's nothing wrong with that. Many scientists, people who study the laws of science, often tell us to only trust our senses, which is not totally true. We use our senses and allow our senses to detect, to examine things that are there. We don't prejudge things before we start investigating. A good hypothesis, or someone formulating a hypothesis, will create an educated guess, but if the science takes that person in a different direction and it can be proven, then you follow that direction. But I promise you, if you're open and objective, and if you want to be a great scientist, you do not prejudge the outcome. And what we're saying is, if you test the world around you, if you investigate, if you do proper research, you'll eventually run into God. You'll see that God's handiwork is all involved in nature. There's nothing created that does not have a creator. And I hear some of the children saying, well, who created God? Remember what I just said. There's nothing created that did not have a creator. God is not created. So therefore, nobody created God. And that's what we mean when we use that term aseity, A-S-E-I-T-Y. Aseity means that God owes his existence to no one. So again, scientists use their five senses to learn about the world around them. The truth is, science alone cannot tell you about the following. So science has its realm. Science deal with the physical things that can be touched, things that can be observed, things that can be put in a lab sometimes and investigated. So science has its limitations. Science cannot answer everything. There are things in the metaphysical world that science cannot touch. Science alone cannot explain who God is. Science alone cannot deal with prayer. You can't put prayer in a test tube. Science itself cannot deal with human soul and spirit. Science by itself cannot explain the concept of angels and where they come from, or the reality of angels. Science cannot fully explain what miracles are without God. So all these things exist in our world. All these things are truthful and actual, but science is limited when it relates to the topic of God, prayer, soul, spirit, angels, and miracles. So maybe you said to yourself, how do I know if God is real? You have said within yourself, how can I trust God when I can't see or touch him? You're not the only person on earth to ask that question. Think about this fact while using your five senses. We learn and believe through sight. We often believe things because we can see it. The question is, how does that apply to God since we cannot see him with our natural eyes? Well, the Bible tells us that God is indeed a spirit. So we cannot see him with our eyes. But read John 4:24. Since we cannot see God with our eyes, how can we know he is real? Well, I'm glad that you asked that question. How do we know that God is real even though we can't see him with our natural eyes? Well, we know God is real by looking at the effects. By looking at the effects. So, for example, some of you all may be aware of William Paley. William Paley, the Christian who created or developed the watchmaker argument. And what William Paley suggests is if you're walking somewhere and you happen to see a watch on the ground and you pick up the watch and you see that this watch has gears. You see that this watch has the minute and hour hand. You see that this watch is finely tuned and constructed. It would be foolish for that individual who discovered that watch to say to him or herself, the watch just evolved. There's no creator. There's no watchmaker behind the watch. The watch just got there out of osmosis. Nothing created a watch. It would be foolish to come with that conclusion. So he says in a similar way, it's foolish to look at the specificity and complexity of nature and deduce and conclude that we just got here. That's called the watchmaker argument. So indeed, nature is more complex than a human watch. We see the fine tuning of nature. We see the specificities of nature. We see the complexities of nature. So nature just didn't get here by itself. Nature has a maker, and that maker is God. Or let's use this other example. If a strong wind blows down a tree, you may not see the wind, but you see the effect or the result. The tree was blown down. In the same way, we may not be able to see God as a person because he's a spirit, but we see his effect. So you may not see God with your naked eyes, but you see his effect. You see the result. Some years ago, there was inclement weather that passed through our city, and 1/3 of my fence in the backyard fell. And we had to get together with our neighbors. We have a good neighbor fence, and we had to all share in the cost to rebuild the fence. But that was the effect. The wind that knocked it down could not be seen with our naked eyes, but we examined the effect. Something happened, and it was the wind. And they told us the wind was coming, according to the forecasters. And the wind came, and the wind was so powerful that it knocked down our fence. In the same way, we feel the effects of God. When God does something, we can see it. Just like us being here, we're the effects. God gave us life. You may not see it with your naked eyes, but we see the effect. God gave us a soul. God gave us a spirit. God gave us a body. God is the one that created the universe. God is the one responsible for the position of Earth in the solar system. If we were any closer to the sun, we would burn up. If we were any further away from the sun, we would freeze to death. This is all because of God. He created a privileged planet, according to the book. God created a privileged planet, meaning that he created a solar system that was designed for man to be able to thrive in. He didn't create or put us on, let's say, the moon. The moon is inhospitable to life. So God placed us here on earth where we have water that we need. We have the amount of oxygen that we need. We have the food that we need, and we're thriving, and we can thrive in this environment, and we owe it all to God. We see the effects, and those effects point back to God. We're not here by coincidence. All of this did not happen by chance, as some people argue. We serve a real God. And so as we're going through today's episode, again, if you're just joining us, I want to invite you to sign up for the 2026 Apologetics Boot Camp. We always have fun and we learn. Apologetics Boot Camp is designed for Christian students, 3rd grade through college. And even if you're a young adult, you're not attending college, we welcome you to attend. And then we have a breakout session for parents and adults. So everybody's welcome, 3rd grade and up. We have classes for each one of you. Sign up on www.abcsac.org, www.abcsac.org. We look forward to seeing you. And please come and say hello to me. I'll be there to greet you and to speak with you. There's many people that listen to the show, and they stop me in the community, and they are praying for us, and some even are partners financially with us. So please come to the Apologetics Boot Camp, and I would love to see you. So as we continue our argument for the existence of God, we know that other people who stole things that no longer steal. It's through God's power, as an example, that they were able to change. That's the effects. We know people that used to be alcoholics, and once they accepted Christ, God took the taste away from them. We know people that were fornicators, and once they accept Christ, they stop sleeping around. Now they have the power of the Holy Ghost within them, and they're able to abstain and discipline themselves without reverting back to their old ways. So we see the effects. God is the initiator, and we are the effects of its initiation. So when we look at the solar system, again, God created the whole universe. How do we know this is true? Astrologers who study the solar system have discovered that our Earth is placed in the most ideal position. And because of God, that's how we got here. And we see the resources that's been given to us. Then there's something called deoxyribose nucleic acid. Many of you know it by the name of DNA, the abbreviated form. And DNA are codes within your body. As an example, every human has about 6 billion DNAs in their body. These codes tell your body what to do. So for example, DNA carries the information that tells your body what color your eyes will be and how the organs in your body will work. It tells your body what color hair you're going to have. It tells your body the texture of hair you're going to have. It tells your body what your skin color is going to be. So if these are codes, how did these codes get here without a code maker? How can you have a coding just pop out of nowhere? And it goes from chaos to organization. There's no such thing. There's nothing that goes from chaos to organization without an intelligent initiator. So God placed the DNA codes within our body. And since Adam and Eve, God has been responsible for the programming of all of these DNAs. It is almost like a computer program that tells your body what to do. The person who placed that genetic coding in our body is God. Again, you can't see God because he's a spirit. But in our eyes, we see the effects. And DNA is a perfect example of how God is involved in our lives. And then we look at archaeology. Archaeology also proves that God exists. Archaeologists are people who study things in the past. They also find things from a long time ago that you may be interested in. Since they dig up things from the past, sometimes they find things that the Bible already mentions. Some of the things that archaeologists have discovered are, example, Jacob's well, Hezekiah's tunnel, the sheep gate from John chapter 5, and Golgotha, the place Christ was crucified at. Archaeology helps us to prove what the Bible says is true. And if the Bible is true, then God has to be real because God is the author of the Bible. And there's so many archaeological finds that we don't have time to go through them at this point. But if you come to the Apologetics Boot Camp, you can learn more about the Bible and archaeology, which will be our intro session. So again, please get online, abcsac.org, and sign up for the 2026 Apologetics Boot Camp. There'll be numerous other Christians from other churches, and we're coming together to get deeper into God's word and receive information that'll help us, not only to edify us, but to train us to share the faith and to defend the faith. Go online, abcsac.org, and register. And again, when we look at what Jesus has to offer, the historicity of Jesus, there are so many outside the Bible sources that prove that Jesus was a historical person, number one, such as Tacitus. We have numerous writings that we can point to, not only in the Bible, but outside the Bible. So we want you to come and receive more nuggets regarding the arguments, the resources, the tools that we have as Christians to demonstrate that God is real. Again, the fool has said in his heart that God doesn't exist, but we know better. All of us that are Christians have experience with God. We know him for ourselves. Through faith, we know that God is there all the time for us. We know that he's leading us because he is the shepherd. We know that he's preserving us. We know that he created us. He's the potter. We're the clay. We know this. It's settled in our hearts. But the devil is real and he's fooling people about God. And we that have the truth, we need to share it. We can't suppress it. We can't just sit down. We must share it and then offer some information that they need in order to consider accepting Christ. Well, this ends our episode dealing with our Apologetics Boot Camp by the way of the argument, does God exist? Again, we want you to be there, abcsac.org, abcsac.org. Now remember to do for the truth what so many people do for a lie, and consider supporting us
Thanks for
financially.
Listening to Sound Reasoning with apologist and minister Perseus Poku from Sound Reasoning Ministries. It's our prayer that today's lesson has equipped you to share and defend your Christian faith with boldness. Sound Reasoning Ministries offers training in apologetics, biblical studies, and systematic theology. Join in on discussions on Facebook at Sound Reasoning Ministries. For more information about the ministry, to send an email, ask a question, or support the ministry, visit online at srministries.org. That's srministries.org. Listen again next week at this same time, and remember, Titus 1:9 says, hold firm to the trustworthy message as has been taught, so that you can encourage others by sound doctrine and refute those who oppose it. Sound Reasoning Ministries, srministries.org.